Hi, I'm Riley, Director of Training with ConcealedCarry.com. Today we're going to talk about light options for the HK CC9 pistol. Now, this is specific to the Streamlight options. When the CC9 first came out, I was really excited about it. I was planning on giving it a test and evaluation and potentially carrying it. And in fact, I have been carrying this very gun right here for a number of months now, since last year, in fact. And I'm very, very impressed with the CC9 as far as micro compact size concealed carry pistols go. It's a great gun. It's very accurate. It's very reliable, and it carries very well too. Of course, you got your 12 round plus one capacity, at least with this particular magazine in it. This gun here's got the 10 round magazine in it, but this just disappears on my body, carrying either in a KSG Armory Lexington holster, or in this case, a KSG Armory Revere holster, which is our light-bearing holster. And that's something that we got some questions about was, hey, what about a light-bearing holster for the CC9? And so we got to work on a holster mold for that, but one of the challenges was which light is going to work with the gun. And so, and most people these days, with these micro compact size guns, those that want to run a light on them are typically using the Streamlight TLR-7 Sub or TLR-7. This is actually the X Sub, slightly, it's kind of the next generation of this light. And so we got a couple of light options here. Initially I thought, okay, the 1913 version of the TLR-7 Sub, it comes with a couple of different rail keys. And to swap these out, all you got to do is undo the screw here. And of course, you see the other half of the rail attachment side came off there. And now I can pull that rail attachment key out. And so I thought, okay, let's go through the different keys for this and find one that works for the CC9. And unfortunately, none of them worked. There was one that was very, very close, it seemed. And one of the challenges with the CC9, I guess you could say this is a criticism of it, although I'm perfectly happy with the size and proportions of the gun. And while I wouldn't necessarily complain or mind a longer barrel slide and or rail, I think it's pretty good in its current configuration. But the rail on it is fairly short. You only have two positions on the rail itself. And so one of the challenges was that the TLR-7 Sub just doesn't, it barely gets enough bite on that rail to begin with, yet alone have a rail key that actually locked into one of the slots. And so that was the problem, is there wasn't a rail key that lined up with one of the slots on this gun. This one here is the rail key that you would use for things like the X Macro, Sig Sauer X Macro, and a few other similar sized guns. And it's close, but it's just a little bit too far forward to get into that most forward facing slot on the rail here. So that didn't work out. So I was a little bit disappointed about that. And so we do have a couple options here though. And earlier this year, we were able to confirm, first of all, that the Hellcat version of the TLR-7 Sub and its variants, while it barely fits, it does in fact fit. And so that's one option for you if you're looking to have a light bearing setup for your HK CC9. The Hellcat fits on there quite nicely. It is a tight fit, but it fits. Like you can tell that it's pressed right up against the trigger guard of the gun. And so the Hellcat works. We did confirm that, and that was nice to discover. Now, actually, you'll see I didn't have a light on that in the holster. We do not recommend carrying this gun in our Revere holster without a light attached. I just had it there for the beginning of this video here. But for the 1913 model, there's also an option, and this I actually stumbled upon and was glad for that, but there's a company, I think they're out of Washington State, called Total Innovative, and they are advertising a rail key, and it's just 3D printed, but it looks like a quality 3D print and seems to hold up just fine. But they were advertising a rail key for the 1913 version of the TLR-7 Sub. And why is this relevant? Well, with the TLR-7 Sub and its family of lights, you basically have the Glock version, fits on the 43X and the 48. You have the SIG version, which fits on the P365. It's very specific to that because the 365 doesn't actually have a 1913 style rail. It just has a proprietary rail. There's the Hellcat version, which you see here, which of course works on the CC9. And then there's the 1913 or 1913S model, which is intended to kind of fill the gap of all the other small sized guns that have a 1913 compatible rail. This will also work on larger, you don't have to use it on a small gun. It works, this light will work with the different rail keys that come with it on other, common, more full size or mid size guns as well. So I was able to order this rail attachment key from Total Innovative. I think it cost $6 plus a little bit for shipping. And that was nice that there was a solution out there that works with the 1913 model of TLR-7 Sub Lite. All right, so that's pretty nice. So we'll go ahead and get this reattached and I'll show you how this fits. There is a slight difference between it and the Hellcat version of the same light. Okay, we'll get that on there. By the way, one of my favorite tools for tightening these lights down is a dime, specifically a dime. The penny, the nickel, the quarter, some of those others work, but the dime is like the perfect size to fit in that little notch on the light screw there. So anyway, all right, so we get the 1913 on there with that Total Innovative adapter, and it totally works. It's great. One thing about it though, and I kind of wonder if they could modify their 3D print file just a little bit in this regard. I would prefer if it actually sat a little bit further back on the gun. There's actually a fairly noticeable gap between the back of the light and the front of the trigger guard. And so the light does sit a little bit further forward, and if you look up closely in the close-up shot, I do think you could come back a good 1/16 plus of an inch, and the front edge of the 1913 rail attachment on the light itself would match up a little bit better with the end of the rail of the gun. It would just also give a little bit more purchase on the rail itself. And it would help it fit a little bit more consistently with how the Hellcat one fits on the gun. And so with our Revere holster, what you'll find is, it fits great in the holster. I've been carrying this for the last couple weeks just to test, and I've been very happy with this setup. It conceals great, it's very comfortable, and it's a lot of firepower in a small package, including a light, if that's something that's important for you. I don't often typically these days carry with a light, weapon-mounted light, but it's nice to have the option. And so the 1913 light with the Total Innovative rail key, the gun is just going to sit a little bit further out of the holster. It's not enough to even really notice, but it's just for you to be aware of that because the light sits a little bit further forward on the gun itself, that means it's going to sit, the gun's going to sit up a little bit higher out of the holster. Not enough that it's a safety issue or anything like that. And it does retain very nicely. It's either one of these lights, I would say, work equally well in this Revere holster from KSG Armory. So there you go. That's a couple options for weapon-mounted lights on the HK CC9 pistol. There is the light that Surefire just released as well that supposedly would work. I haven't seen that done or tested yet. We don't know how that's going to work overall or how that would fit with holsters. But for right now, it's good to have at least two options from Streamlight. And the nice thing is with the 1913 rail adapter from Total Innovative is if you already have one of those 1913 TLR-7 Subs, you don't need to go buy another one. You just buy the rail key. And if you don't have a TLR-7 light yet, you're looking to buy one, I think the most ideal option and what I would recommend is buy the Hellcat one. The model for the Hellcat works on this perfectly well. And I believe Streamlight knows about this fitting on this gun now. I don't know if they're changing their packaging or marketing on that and saying, hey, it's not just the Hellcat, but also the CC9 as well. I don't know if that's even important to them, but it's nice to know that the Hellcat version of this light works on the gun perfectly, and I'm very, very happy with it. So there you go, a couple of options and a great holster option from KSG Armory holsters in the form of the Revere holster. Hope this video is helpful for you.